Good morning, everyone. So we're gonna start with our third chapter, which is a very fresh chapter. We will be having two chapters. So this one is structure of matter. So first of all, what is matter? So whatever things we are seeing in our surrounding is called matter. For example, if we talk about the piece of a chalk, it has a small particles. So anything which has space and occupies masses is known as matter. Now, let's have a reading of this chapter. Let us recall what we have learnt about the structure of matter in class 6. Kannada, Kannad, the great Indian sage of ancient time, was probably the first to suggest that all matter is composed of very small particles. He gave the name Anu to these particles. So, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल सबसे पहले इंडिया में जाके ये डिस्कवर हुआ था, ठीक है, कन्नड़ में, दैट इसका जो नाम था सबसे स्मॉल पार्टिकल से बना होता है जिसको हम बोलते हैं अणु. लेट अस टेक एन एग्जाम्पल. अ पीस ऑफ आयरन इज मेड अप ऑफ मैटर. इफ इट्स पीस ऑफ आयरन इज ब्रोकन, व्हाट विल हैपन? इट फॉर्म smaller pieces of iron. So suppose if we try to break down a piece of iron, what we found that it forms a still smaller and smaller particles you can say, or you can also say that pieces, right? However, this must end somewhere. तो सबसे ज़्यादा जब हम इसको ब्रेक डाउन करते हैं, it gets simplified into the smaller particles. तो whenever we are just simplifying it, तो सबसे छोटी जो यूनिट होती है उसके बाद भी ये स्मॉल पीसेस हमको दिखते हैं. तो ये सबसे ज़्यादा स्मॉलेस्ट जो फाइन चीज़ होती है वो होती है हमारी एटम. The smallest unit of a matter is known as atom. It forms still smaller and smaller pieces. However, this must end somewhere. It should be possible to get the smallest piece of iron that cannot be broken any further. John Dalton, a scientist of 19th century, named this smallest piece of iron as the iron atom. Similarly, the smallest piece of gold is a gold atom. Atoms are so small that they cannot be seen by the most powerful microscope. Approximately 4 million gold atoms placed end to end to form a line of only 1 millimeter length. So there are 4 million gold particles in only 1 millimeter length. So we can see that it comprises of the small particles which are termed as atoms. The smallest particles of gold and iron are gold atoms and iron atoms respectively. Gold atoms and iron are respectively. However, the smallest particle of water is not a water atom. Why? This is because water is made up of two kinds of atom, that is oxygen and hydrogen. The smallest particles of water contains two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. These form one molecule of water. So as we can see that water comprises of the two molecules of water. For example, one is made up of hydrogen and other is made up of oxygen. Now we will study what are the elements and compounds. Iron, gold, hydrogen, oxygen are some examples of substances made up of only one kind of atoms. These are called elements. So as we can see that different element comprises of different types of particles which are known as atoms. They are known as elements. So each type of metal or non-metal comprises of a element or a particle. Same kind of atoms are there. They are known as elements. A substance made up of only one kind of atoms that cannot be broken down into simpler substances by chemical method is called an element. The smallest particles of an element is an atom. Though some atoms cannot exist independently, as we can see a little later. For example, if we talk about the water, it comprises of two types of atoms. For example, one is of hydrogen and another one is of oxygen. Similar basis, we can say that, like for example, iron, gold comprises of same type of particles which is known as element. तो द स्मॉलेस्ट पार्टिकल ऑफ एन एलिमेंट, तो जैसे आयरन हमारा एलिमेंट हुआ और उसकी स्मॉलेस्ट यूनिट होगी हमारी एटम. द स्मॉलेस्ट पार्टिकल ऑफ एन एलिमेंट इज एन एटम. though some atom cannot exist independently, जैसे हमने अभी स्टडी किया, water is made up of two elements, for example hydrogen and oxygen. It is a compound, a substance formed by a chemical combination of two or more elements in fixed proportion is called compound. तो अगर एक से ज़्यादा एलिमेंट से बना होता है then we called it a compound, right? So the smallest particle of a compound is a molecule. How elements form compounds? Now we will see how elements form the compound. Think of atoms like the letters of alphabets. We join different letters to make own words. Thousands of words can be made from just 26 letters. In same way, atoms combine together to form molecules. Millions of different kinds of molecules can be different from only 118 different kinds of atoms. That is why we see millions of compounds all around. Water, sugar, chalk, vinegar, salts are some compounds. Compounds means hota hai which is made from one or two elements. Okay, their molecules are different from each other. This difference in the molecules is the reason why salt is salty and sugar is sweet. An atom is the smallest particle of an element that can take place in chemical reaction. It may or may not exist independently. So it depends completely. It is existing in a single element form or compound. Compound में एक या दो से ज़्यादा element हो सकते हैं, right? Like water. और molecule क्या होता है? It is the smallest particle of element. Element का smallest particle जो होता है that is known as our molecule. Okay, or a compound that can normally exist independently. It is fantastic to see that atoms of two gases, hydrogen and oxygen, can combine together to form water, which is a liquid, or that atoms of two poisonous substances, sodium and chlorine, can combine together to form a salt, a compound we use every day. As you all aware that we use salt daily basis. So these are some cases where we understood that element क्या होता है, जैसे iron को हम element बोलते हैं. It can be metal, it can be non-metal, or it can be metalloids. If it is existing it formed with the help of two or more elements, that is known as a compound. The smallest unit of a element or a compound is molecule, and the smallest particle of an element is known as atom. Okay. Now we will study about the occurrence and properties of the compound. So before starting up, I would like to tell you that you should just prepare this part. Okay, the occurrence of the compound and mixture I will explain detail with the help of the presentation. Okay, so you can see it from there. If you have any doubt, you can ask me up. That's all for today. Thank you.